as you know, Arkansas summers can be pretty hot, but we've gotten a nice break from that soaring heat today. And today we're joined by Dr. Ari Filip with UAMS, to talk about how to stay safe in the heat. Dr. Filip, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us. I hear that heat could be inching back up a little bit this summer. So I know you're an ER doctor and you see a lot of heat-related injuries. And so can you kind of touch on what kinds of heat-related injuries you might see most in your work?
Sure. So we see a whole spectrum of heat-related injuries. So starting from just simple dehydration, people who have been out when it's really hot and are just losing too much through sweat and through evaporation. We see skin-related injuries like sunburns and sometimes even some pretty severe sunburns. And at the really extreme end of the spectrum, we see things like really bad heat-related injuries.
Yeah, and I know a lot of times we're outside, we're not thinking about those things, but what can you tell Arkansans about how to stay healthy and stay safe during the heat of the summer?
So first thing would be to recognize particularly high-risk conditions when it's hot out. So not just high heat, but high humidity. And then certain populations that are at particular risk. So these are people that are older or maybe very young. And then individuals who have some existing illness. And then I would definitely recommend that anytime someone's going out in the heat, which first of all, I would generally try to avoid it if it's extremely hot or trying to go outside during the hottest part of the day. But if you are going to go outside, I would tell people to definitely wear sunscreen, even if it seems like you're only going to be outside for a few minutes. Aside from the long-term risk of sun damage, certainly a sunburn is going to make dehydration worse. And then trying to stay in the shade, take breaks, and then just really avoiding prolonged heat exposure. If you're going to be outside, absolutely stay well hydrated. I can't emphasize this enough. Bring water with you if you're going to be outside. And if you're going to be working outside and exerting yourself outside, you should really be drinking probably about 8 ounces of water several times per hour. So maybe every 15 or 20 minutes, drinking about an 8-ounce glass of water if you're going to be working outside.
I heard you talk about that sunscreen, that water. I know those are things that, we often think of are important in terms of heat safety, but I know there are also some misconceptions about heat safety. So can you share some of those?
Yeah, so I would say that, it's not just, again, it's not just necessarily looking at the temperature, it's going to be looking at the humidity too. And so just because maybe the temperature may be a little bit lower than you might think to be extremely hot, we worry about other things that go into the heat index. I don't want you to think that just the amount of fluids matters, because it is important that you are drinking water and other hydrating solutions. So particularly, I do want people to be responsible with alcohol. If you've maybe been drinking a lot of liquids, but those liquids aren't water and maybe have alcohol in them, it's not going to be particularly helpful for you. And so I just don't want people to think that they might be invulnerable just because maybe they're thinking it's not too hot out, or that, I've been drinking a lot of liquid, but it's really not the right thing.
So can you share some signs and symptoms of a heat stroke?
Sure. So I would say, and I should probably be wary of using the term heat stroke. I think probably the more apt term would be saying that this is just a heat-related injury. But the things that I would look out for would be early on, you might see some lightheadedness. People might feel a little bit woozy and potentially like they're going to pass out. That's really something that you should worry about. And if you are maybe feeling like you're not feeling quite right, especially when you go to stand up, that would certainly be an indication to make sure that you stay well hydrated, get inside, get to a cool environment. If you're having cramps or sustained muscle contractions, that can be a really big red flag when your electrolytes get really out of whack and you get quite dehydrated. It's certainly something that we can see, and that may prompt the need for you to be evaluated in an emergency department. And then what would be a really big red flag would be if you're starting to have confusion, not feeling quite like yourself, or other people notice any sort of abnormal behavior. And absolutely, you should get to the emergency department as soon as possible. One thing that is a little bit of a red flag that you may not notice is we think of people being out in the heat as sweating a lot. But in individuals that have really severe heat-related injuries, if they stop sweating, that can be a little bit of a red flag. It's almost as if they've kind of run out of water. But usually, individuals will have symptoms well in advance of that.
Dr. Filip, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No. Just encourage people to stay inside, stay cool as much as they can, and please be responsible. Anytime you're stepping outside in this sort of heat and humidity, bring water with you, wear sunscreen, and just know that these sorts of injuries can happen to everyone. So be vigilant for those signs.
Yeah, and I know it's important to watch out for those signs and also take precautions. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Filip. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.